We just want to take a moment to talk about our amazing sponsor, the #1 language learning app in the world, Babbel. Since the start of 2021, I've been using Babbel to learn Dutch. They have over a dozen languages to choose from, and I chose Dutch because it's where my dad's family is from, and I have lots of Dutch-speaking relatives. I thought it'd be nice to know how to speak the language when I finally visit the home of my ancestors. But I was really worried about learning a new language because I studied French throughout primary school and some of high school, and I nearly failed every year. Today I can't speak a single sentence in French, and I even lived in a French-speaking city for several years while I was in university. But I love the way Babbel teaches you a new language. It starts off easy and becomes more challenging, but it isn't so hard that it's off-putting. I feel incredibly accomplished when I nail a pronunciation or learn the proper way to use an adjective. For example, now I love telling people, "Na quelque chose ik vous expliquer." Babbel also has some amazing games that make learning fun. They also have great podcasts that are informative about the language and the culture you're learning about. Finally, Babbel offers some amazing virtual classes that are taught by certified teachers. The class sizes are small, so it's a great, intimate way to learn. Right now, Babbel has a great deal for criminally listed viewers. Click on the link in the description box to get 65% off Babbel. That's less than $5 a month to start learning a new language. Start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks with Babbel. Just click on the link below this video. Number 3. Tyler Petersen. Crandon is a small town in northeast Wisconsin. In 2007, it had a population of just under 2,000. 18-year-old Jordan Murray lived in a duplex in the small town. On the night of October 8, 2007, she was hosting a pizza and movie party. At about 2:30 a.m., there were 6 party guests: 18-year-old Katrina McCorkle, 17-year-old Leanna Thomas, 20-year-old Bradley Schultz, 20-year-old Aaron Smith, 14-year-old Lindsay Stahl, and 21-year-old Charlie Netzel. Around 2:30 is the time that Murray's ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old Tyler Petersen, arrived at the party. Petersen was a full-time police officer with the Crandon Police Department and a part-time sheriff's deputy with Forest County. At the time, Petersen was off duty. Petersen really wanted to reconcile with Murray, but Murray didn't want to get back together with Petersen, and they argued. Then the other partygoers started taunting Petersen by calling him a worthless pig. Petersen stormed out of the party and went out to his truck. He picked up his police-issued AR-15 rifle, walked back to the duplex, and kicked in the door. He then methodically hunted down every party member. A police officer happened to be in the area, and he heard the gunshots. He drove over to the duplex. About 5 minutes after Petersen went into the duplex, he stepped outside and opened fire on the police car. He then got into his pickup truck and drove away. The responding police officer was uninjured, but his windshield was destroyed, so he couldn't pursue Petersen. Instead, he called paramedics to the area, and he alerted his fellow officers that Petersen had shot up a party. Police officers and sheriff's deputies searched throughout the night for Petersen. Petersen did something bold and radioed in to the sheriff's office, posing as another deputy, and gave false information about what type of truck he was driving. Petersen ended up driving to a cabin in Argonne, Wisconsin, which is a town about 8 miles from the scene of the shooting. His friends were in the cabin, and they let him inside. They noticed that he seemed intoxicated. He admitted to them that he had shot the people at the party. Around 10 a.m., someone inside the cabin called the police and told them that Petersen was there. Police officers and deputies surrounded the cabin. At around 12:30, Petersen left the cabin and walked quickly towards the woods. Just before he was able to slip into the woods, a sniper fired a shot at him. It hit him in the left bicep. The police pursued Petersen into the woods. A short time later, they found 20-year-old Tyler Petersen dead. he had managed to shoot himself in the head 3 times. Out of the 7 people at the party, 6 of them had died. The only survivor was 21-year-old Charlie Netzel, who had been shot 3 times. He survived because he had played dead. The mass murder shocked the small town and made headlines across the country. 8 months after the shooting, the duplex where the shooting took place was torn down. Number 2. David Chippa Mateane. Krugersdorp is a city in South Africa that is just west of Johannesburg. In 2003, 42-year-old David Mateane, who went by the name Chippa, was a respected police officer in the city. But on April 3, 2006, something in his mind snapped. Supposedly, he was mad that his 8-year relationship with his girlfriend, 48-year-old Poppy Mosea, had ended. Chippa had been jealous, and he thought that Poppy was having affairs with other police officers. Perhaps that's why he started his horrible killing spree at her home. Chippa shot 48-year-old Poppy, her 24-year-old daughter, Loreo Mosea, her 21-year-old niece, Danelle Mubi, her 21-year-old cousin, Mazabata Mubi, and perhaps, most tragically, her 18-month-old grandson, Lebogang Mosea. Only Poppy's cousin, Mazabata Mubi, survived, and she called for help. But Chippa was already heading to the police station. When he got there, he started shooting his fellow police officers. He shot 38-year-old Captain David Masipa in the chest. He pumped several bullets into the pelvis of 42-year-old Senior Superintendent Mishak Zondo. He shot 42-year-old Captain Jabulani Sokahala in the head. Finally, he shot 40-year-old Captain Franz Monema in the head and the chest. All 4 police officers died in the police station. After killing his 4 fellow police officers, Chippa drove to the home of his 44-year-old brother, Abraham Metama. He shot Abraham in the neck. After shooting his brother, Chippa drove away. But soon, the police were on his tail, and there was a high-speed chase. During the chase, a 44-year-old pedestrian, Patrick Zolio's soul, was run down and killed. About 8 hours after Chippa started his murderous spree, his fellow officers, who had not been shot to death, surrounded him. 42-year-old David Chippa Mateane then shot himself in the head. Including Chippa, his spree left 10 people dead. His brother survived, but he was paralyzed. Chippa didn't leave a suicide note, but he did take the time to write a message on a computer at his former girlfriend's house. It reads, "I am not to blame. I am important. I deserve to be loved by you. I deserve to be treated with respect, and I will still love you forever." Number 1. Wubam Kun. In April 1982, Wubam Kun was 27 years old, and he was a police officer in Yeryong County, South Korea. He lived with his girlfriend, 27-year-old Chun Mao Sun. Wu, a former Marine, was described as hard-drinking and rude. His superiors supposedly knew about his drinking problem, and that is why he was assigned to the countryside. On the afternoon of April 26, 1982, Wu was napping before he had to go on duty. His girlfriend noticed that there was a fly on his chest, so she tried to swat it off. When she did, she woke Wu up, and he was not in a good mood. Wu and Chun started arguing. He then left their home and went to the armory of the police station. He grabbed 2 carbine rifles, 180 rounds of ammunition, and 7 hand grenades. He went back home and he started drinking. He then smashed the furniture in his home and beat up his girlfriend. Afterward, he walked out and started firing his gun at people. Chun Mao's son stepped outside and saw that Wu was shooting people, and then he shot her and she lost consciousness. One of Wu's first stops was the post office, where he killed the telephone operators who were the only ones who could call for help. Wu would then knock on the door of random houses and murder whoever opened the door. Other times, he would get into the home and wipe out entire families. One family of 4 was holding a wake for a loved one, and Wu killed all 4 family members. In one encounter, Wu had an 18-year-old student, Kim Ju-dong, as a hostage. He went to a store and asked the store owner for a soft drink. The owner, Shin Wee-do, gave Wu a soft drink and he took a sip. After taking a drink, Wu executed the 18-year-old student. Wu then opened fire on Shin and his family. Shin was shot in the leg and he survived. His 51-year-old wife and his 2 daughters, who were 13 and 9, were all shot to death. Throughout the rest of the night, Wu traveled to 3 other villages and killed people at random. About 8 hours after he started his massacre, he broke into a farmhouse belonging to 68-year-old Xu and Su. Wu told Xu that he was hunting a communist, and he asked Xu to get his family to surround him. The police and army personnel learned that Wu was in the farmhouse, and they surrounded it. Just as they were about to breach the house, Wu detonated 2 grenades. He was killed along with 3 of Xu and Xu's family, but Xu and Xu survived. Tragically, over 8 hours, Wu Bum-kun killed 57 people, including himself. 36 more people were injured. His victims were men, women, and children. They ranged in age from 2 years old to 71 years old. Notably, Wu's girlfriend survived her injuries. When Wu was found, out of the 180 rounds and 7 hand grenades he took, he only had 4 rounds and 2 grenades left. For decades, Wu Bum-kun's rampage was the deadliest mass murder committed by a lone gunman. The macabre record was broken in July 2011 when Anders Behring Breivik shot to death 69 people and killed another 8 with a car bomb in Norway. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please don't forget to check out the latest episode of Into the Killing. We talk about a strange kidnapping case that was solved because of a bizarre twist of fate. You can find Into the Killing on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Deezer, and anywhere you find great podcasts. But that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.